A sharpshooter has his sights locked on the President of the United States. For the Secret Service, this is the climax of danger, the exact nightmare they have prepared for over decades. In the following moments, every division of the agency springs into action. The Direct Protection Team, the Counter-Assault Unit, the Aerial Surveillance Sector, the Elite Snipers, and the Tactical Response Group. The unfolding of the next few seconds will define the destiny of history. If the agents triumph, today's events will quickly fade into oblivion. Securing the leader's life is merely the daily routine, a mission the organization has successfully fulfilled every single day since the assassination of JFK. However, should they fail, the nation will be shaken to its core, jeopardizing the very stability of democracy. This is the decisive moment, where reflex, technique, and personal sacrifice must converge, or the worst happens. Who are the individuals who form the president's shield? How do they prepare for the unpredictable? How do the gears of the Secret Service actually operate? Note: this content is primarily based on the works Zero Fail, The Rise and Fall of the Secret Service by Carol Leonig, and In the President's Secret Service by Ronald Kessler. Protecting Kennedy represents the most grueling mission they have ever undertaken. He is in perpetual motion, Miami one day, Washington the next. His predecessors were older and spent the bulk of their time working within the confines of the White House, where the president is deemed most secure. However, JFK relishes traveling the globe and engaging with his multitude of devoted fans. He also possesses a penchant for risk, evading his details to swim in open waters, surrounded by scores of strangers, or plunging into crowds and allowing all sorts of unvetted guests into his private quarters night after night. Keeping pace with JFK is more than a standard vocation. It's a whirlwind of double shifts and sleepless nights. So, on this particular evening, several agents are unwinding. They've caught wind of a notorious and shady nightclub called The Cellar, where Texan beatniks mingled with off-duty officers, often leading to altercations. It's unlawful to serve spirits after midnight, yet The Cellar is a place where a stiff drink is guaranteed at any hour. The agents remain there well past midnight, 1 until 5 a.m. 4 of these men are tasked with shielding Kennedy the following morning, starting sharply at 8 a.m. Compared to today's standards, the agency shielding President Kennedy in the 1960s was modest, essentially the size of a local police force. There were only 350 agents, most dispersed across the U.S. Only 36 were stationed at the White House, with a rotating squad of 6 guarding the president. Keeping the agency minimalist was partly due to the American reluctance to treat their leaders like monarchs. Rooted in the ideals of the Founding Fathers, until that chilly November morning in Dallas, the prevailing belief was that the Secret Service should look nothing like a royal guard. JFK enjoyed being in the spotlight. For this Dallas visit, he demanded to ride in a convertible. Although the Secret Service disapproved, he also stipulated that his usual bodyguards ride in separate vehicles. He wanted to appear reachable to the public. Thousands of people awaited him in downtown Dallas. At 1:25 p.m., the motorcade entered the city center. JFK and Jackie smiled and waved as their limousine crawled through Dallas at a mere 11 km. The route had been publicized beforehand by local newspapers. Not a single building along the path had been vetted. This is Clint Hill, the agent detailed to protect Jackie Kennedy. Usually he trailed her like a shadow, but today he was complying with JFK's orders to provide the couple some breathing room. Of the agents who visited the cellar the previous night, Hill was the first to depart at 2:45 a.m. Today, he is also the first agent on duty to identify that sound for what it signifies: an assassination plot against the president. This is Bill Greer, the agent behind the wheel of Kennedy's limousine. He possesses no specialized training in evasive driving. He decelerates, awaiting guidance on how to proceed. Another round is fired. Clint bolts from his vehicle. He sprints toward the limousine, hoping to reach the president's side before further tragedy strikes. But he is too late. Clint flings himself onto the rear of the car, only to witness a harrowing scene. Within 6 seconds of the initial shot, President Kennedy is gone. If my reaction had been just a fraction faster, I might have made it, I believe. Now I'll carry that weight to my grave. What follows is history, an event that would haunt the agency for decades. The assassination of Kennedy proved that a radical shift was necessary, yet he wasn't the first leader to be slain in office. 1865, 1881, 1901. But now, the United States has emerged as a global superpower. The president is the most influential figure on the planet. Threats are proliferating and becoming more sophisticated. Kennedy's death left the nation scarred. Nothing of this magnitude could ever be allowed to repeat. During the 60s and 70s, the Secret Service vastly increased its manpower and funding. It would no longer be a modest group of elevated bodyguards. Gone were the days of hiring any fit ex-Marine or devoted officer. Recruitment, instruction, and standard operating procedures became significantly more stringent. This is what 60 years of advancement looks like. Guarding a president isn't just about instinct or raw power. It's about conditioning agents to maintain composure under fire, recognize patterns, and navigate complex dilemmas instantly. The good news is, you don't have to enlist in the Secret Service to sharpen these same attributes. Brilliant was designed to evolve your inherent potential into genuine problem-solving expertise. You can strengthen your logic, mathematics, coding, and scientific reasoning. It helps you grasp concepts that once felt vague or daunting. The Truth and Lies course is a perfect launchpad. You are given fragmented data, build clues, discard the impossible, and learn to distinguish solid deductions from educated guesses, pinpointing exactly what is verifiable even in messy situations. With Brilliant, you don't just observe, you engage with interactive, step-by-step lessons until the ideas click. It's tailored for anyone from ages 10 to 110. To begin your 30-day free trial, visit brilliant.org/fern or scan the QR code. You'll also receive a 20% discount on an annual premium subscription, granting unrestricted access to everything Brilliant has to offer. Guarding the president is an uninterrupted endeavor. It consists of endless hours of numbing boredom, punctuated by sporadic moments of sheer terror. When those instants arrive, every millisecond is vital, and the agent's reaction must be instinctive. There is no window to deliberate over choices. Their mission is unfailing. The Secret Service refers to any would-be assassin as a jackal. According to journalist Ronald Kessler, these jackals tend to strike outside the White House. A president is most exposed when arriving at or departing from a venue. Consequently, agents remain on maximum alert. At least 10 days prior to any off-site appearance, a team deploys to the location. Certain high-profile events, such as a presidential inauguration, require up to 18 months of strategic planning. This is because the Secret Service isn't just focused on ensuring a bullet doesn't hit the president. They are dedicated to ensuring it never even enters the perimeter. Agents are sent in advance to calculate the number of metal detectors required, scrutinize every entry point, and coordinate explosive sweeps. Most importantly, they envision every method a jackal might use to disrupt the gathering. Could he cut the power to trigger chaos? Could he tamper with the ventilation to release toxic gas? Could he slip through a forgotten basement stairwell? The vast majority of Secret Service operations consist of rigorous preparation and acute attention to detail, ensuring they are primed for days like this. These special agents constitute the protection detail, likely the first image that surfaces when one hears the name Secret Service. These are the agents expected to take a bullet for the individual they shield and subsequently evacuate them to a secure location. Yet they represent merely the tip of the iceberg. Then there is the Counter-Assault Team, CAT. These are heavily armed operatives tasked with the most perilous duty. Their mandate is to engage the source of an assault and neutralize it before it reaches the protectee, utilizing automatic rifles or stun grenades. This allows the security detail to whisk the protected person away to the presidential limousine, famously known as the Beast. The Beast is a $1.5 million behemoth weighing roughly 9 tons. It transports the president wherever necessary. It is American-made, naturally, and far superior in security to Kennedy's convertible. According to NBC News, it is bulletproof, blast-resistant, shielded against chemical warfare, and stocked with a reserve of blood matching the president's exact type. While many of its defensive systems remain classified, rumors suggest it can deploy tear gas. Flanking the Beast is the remainder of the presidential motorcade. Counter-assault agents, specialized in ambush tactics, travel in a vehicle nearby. Another Secret Service unit carries intelligence officers who monitor individuals flagged as threats. If required, they can jam the communications of these suspects. For a deeper dive into this, you should definitely check out this fantastic episode by our friend Neo for a full breakdown. In constant coordination with the counter-assault team are the counter-snipers, the premier marksmen of the Secret Service. According to Ronald Kessler, these snipers must demonstrate monthly that they can still neutralize targets from 1,000 yards away. If they fail, they are relieved of their duties. Finally, there are the undercover agents who blend into the crowd, remaining on high alert for risks and weak points. To remain inconspicuous, they forego the trademark earpiece. They scan for anyone appearing agitated, anyone sweating excessively, or exhibiting erratic behavior, anyone who stands out in the slightest. It is a delicate operation that must be executed with total discretion. Look who it is. Many people are starstruck by a president and tend to behave erratically. It's not uncommon for individuals to weep, faint, or even hoist their infants into the air. The Secret Service cannot afford to intervene with every single one of them. Instead, agents embedded in the crowd are trained to adopt the mindset of an assassin in any given environment. They constantly ask, "How would I breach security if I wanted to?" If they spot a vulnerability, they immediately contact the Joint Operations Center at Secret Service headquarters, which alerts the security detail via earpiece. Additionally, Secret Service technicians photograph the crowds to analyze them later using facial recognition technology, flagging any individuals who repeatedly appear at different events. Outside the venue, we find the Uniformed Division's Emergency Response Team, the primary line of defense. They are often armed with P-90 submachine guns and accompanied by highly specialized K-9 units. Each dog sweeps up to 100 vehicles daily for explosives and is trained to neutralize any intruder. Afterward, they are rewarded for their service with a simple game of fetch. The Secret Service also relies on the support of local law enforcement and paramedics. When not actively shielding someone, agents are in a state of constant refinement, training, and debriefing past events. Today's agents undergo far more rigorous preparation than those in the 1960s, who were merely handed a manual and expected to learn on the fly. Soon, it will be time to demonstrate their capabilities, just as they had to in 1981, when a disturbed individual named John Hinckley Jr. became obsessed with and began stalking actress Jodie Foster, the star of Taxi Driver. O Gemini disse, "Aqui está a adaptação para o inglês, mantendo nomes próprios. Hinckley, Reagan, Jodie Foster, Tim McCarthy e dados históricos, mas refinando o vocabulário para um tom de documentário investigativo original. Script adaptado, English." In the film, a drifter plots to assassinate a presidential candidate. Hinckley, a vagrant himself, believed Foster would finally acknowledge him if he executed something monumental, such as killing the president. Shortly before his assault on Reagan, he wrote to Foster, "You'll be proud of me, Jodie. Millions of Americans will love me. Us." Foster only alerted the FBI to Hinckley's threats after the tragedy had unfolded. "The first time I knew the FBI was involved was when someone called and said, 'Please come talk to the FBI.'" But he was already on their radar. Roughly 6 months before targeting Reagan, Hinckley had been taken into custody for attempting to board a plane with 3 handguns. The aircraft was in the same city where then-President Jimmy Carter was located. Now, Hinckley is outside a Washington, D.C. hotel, crouched in a combat stance. If his true intent was to kill Carter, he had failed. But Reagan would suffice. Reagan is a mere 6 feet from his armored vehicle when Hinckley opens fire. Agent Tim McCarthy doesn't even waver. Instinct drives him to shield and evacuate. He flings himself in front of the president. 2 others nearby have already been struck. Hinckley's 3rd round hits McCarthy directly in the torso. A bullet glances off the armored limousine and strikes Reagan in the left underarm. To his misfortune, Hinckley utilized Devastator rounds, engineered to detonate upon impact and inflict maximum carnage. The president begins to hemorrhage rapidly. All of this transpired in just 2 seconds, and the moments that followed were even more pivotal. Had Reagan reached the hospital only minutes later, he might not have survived. Meanwhile, the agents neutralized Hinckley. They could have left that to local law enforcement and followed Reagan to maintain his protection. Their rationale was that they didn't know if Hinckley was a lone wolf. However, following this event, according to Kessler, a new protocol was implemented. Secret Service operatives consistently maintain a close perimeter around the president. Every oversight serves as a catalyst for refining security protocols for the future. Hinckley's thwarted assassination attempt is regarded as one of the agency's defining successes, yet it was a narrow escape. An armed assailant managed to get within 15 feet of the president and nearly succeeded. Clearly, security mandates required strengthening. Today, it is standard operating procedure to deploy metal detectors or magnetometers to screen crowds at every event. Furthermore, the Secret Service recognized the necessity for far superior intelligence sharing. 6 months prior to the attack, Hinckley was apprehended while attempting to board a flight with 3 firearms, information the FBI already possessed. However, under Department of Justice guidelines at the time, the arrest was deemed too minor and was never conveyed to the Secret Service. In hindsight, this lapse deprived presidential protectors of a critical warning sign, a prior weapons arrest synchronized with a presidential visit. The Secret Service now operates in much closer coordination with the FBI. They have also engineered a sophisticated system to categorize the threat level a hostile individual poses. Suppose you make the blunder of drunkenly boasting in a crowded bar that you intend to harm the president. If the Secret Service catches wind of this, according to Kessler, you could be labeled a Class 1 threat, and an agent might pay a visit to your home for a stern interrogation. Unless you possess prior military expertise, a documented history of mental illness, or a tangible reason for the agency to believe you might act on your plans, you won't be escalated to Class 2 or 3. Class 3 threats are considered the most lethal, those with a genuine intent to kill and the means to do so. They are under constant surveillance. The Secret Service receives an estimated 10 threats daily. The vast majority are directed at the president. Not all can be validated as serious. Many menaces are sent straight to the White House. Aspiring assassins often harbor the delusion that the president will personally read their letters and simply want to be acknowledged. A single letter can provide the Secret Service's forensic division with a wealth of data, DNA, latent fingerprints, and ink specimens that can be cross-referenced with their international ink database. Since the early 1980s, criminal profilers have interviewed and analyzed assassins like Hinckley and Sirhan, who killed Robert Kennedy. This research assists the agency in deciphering the motives of these individuals, who are frequently paranoid recluses seeking notoriety and public attention. Often, but not always, the first shot narrowly misses the president. A counter-sniper attempts to neutralize the threat, but the assailant has already vanished into the turmoil. The security detail converges on the president, forming a human shield. Another round is fired, this time from within the crowd. Is that weapon made of white plastic? A bullet grazes the shoulder of a protection agent. The counter-assault team moves directly toward the origin of the fire. Meanwhile, the remaining security personnel usher the president off the dais, hoping they reach safety in time, and praying that the primary threat isn't looming above them, the very threat the service has braced for since the morning of September 11, 2001. President George W. Bush is in Florida this morning, attending a reading session with a second-grade class. He is scheduled to return to the White House by midday. The event has been publicized for a week, a carefully staged photo op to highlight Bush's commitment to education. The Secret Service is well aware that the entire world knows the president's exact coordinates. When the first aircraft strikes the World Trade Center, a member of Bush's security detail receives the update. He inquires whether the assault is confined to New York and if the president's safety is compromised. No answer. No one knows. Minutes tick by. The Secret Service becomes increasingly restless. Both twin towers are in flames. The second plane impacts the building, and Bush is informed that the United States is under attack. On page 153, the long-standing friction between the White House staff and the Secret Service reaches its zenith. One team's mission is to project an image of presidential competence, which requires public interaction. The other team's mandate is to ensure the president's survival. The less he appears in the limelight, the easier that task becomes. Total uncertainty takes hold. The Secret Service wants Bush evacuated immediately, but the White House press secretary is determined not to alarm the children or the viewing public. Consequently, Bush remains motionless for 7 excruciating minutes. Good job. Keep going. The turmoil of that morning exposed further vulnerabilities in the Secret Service's coverage. To begin with, not all key personnel had been briefed on how to secure their missions during a national emergency. There was no established protocol to move them to military-controlled bunkers, nor did agents possess the jurisdiction to do so. Instead, they were treated as mere high-tier bodyguards. They were still forced to defer to officials with zero security expertise, such as the press secretary. The Secret Service had become highly proficient at thwarting lone, unstable gunmen. However, faced with a sophisticated terrorist strike targeting the president, they required a revised strategy and broader authority. Following September 11th, the Secret Service overhauled its emergency response strategies. It was mandated that no political staffer could overrule a Secret Service agent's decision to evacuate a president to a secure location. Furthermore, the government concluded that, perhaps, the president's detail should operate in seamless collaboration with those tracking terrorists. 18 months after 9/11, the Secret Service was integrated into the newly established Department of Homeland Security. The protective mission was redefined as a branch of counterterrorism. Shortly after the attacks, the agency launched a new unit, the Airspace Security Department, tasked with monitoring and neutralizing the skies surrounding the president's current position. Could today be the day they are forced to down an errant drone? For now, the sky remains tranquil. The president boards the aircraft, but then, concerning symptoms begin to surface: dilated pupils, profuse sweating, labored breathing, and seizures. The nerve agent Novichok is a swift and merciless killer. It can incapacitate a victim in under 120 seconds. To strike, the agent must penetrate the skin, be ingested, or inhaled, meaning only someone in extreme proximity could have administered it. Is there a third assassin among them? The Secret Service will address the security breaches later. Now the priority is resuscitating the president. This is where the Hazardous Agent Mitigation and Medical Emergency Response Team, better known as HAMMER, springs into action. Today, HAMMER operators will save the president's life. The first would-be assassin was intercepted and subdued by the K9 Protection Unit while attempting to flee the scene. He is now in custody awaiting prosecution. The second assailant, wielding a 3D-printed weapon, was neutralized by the counter-assault team. He died instantly. And the third, an insider from the Secret Service's own ranks, a career agent who climbed the ladder to the personal protection detail, turns out to be a mole sent by a foreign power. It remains unclear which nation, or how he penetrated the agency's vetting process. Recently, the service has faltered, struggling to staff key positions. Was there a lapse in the screening process? They will certainly interrogate him rigorously to find out. This narrative may seem like an improbable scenario, but it is just one of the countless contingencies the Secret Service prepares for daily. The threats against the president have only intensified in recent years. Consequently, the agency is now conditioned to confront unprecedented assaults. The war on terror granted the Secret Service more authority than ever before, increased budgets, broader reach, and greater prestige, but also burdened them with responsibilities that strained their capabilities to the breaking point. Internally, the machinery began to corrode. The Bush and Obama eras were tarnished by waves of scandals that eroded the agency's reputation and its credo of being worthy of trust. In one instance, a senior operative reportedly brought an informant to his hotel room. She succumbed to an overdose that night, yet he was subsequently elevated in rank. Other agents were implicated in embezzling federal funds, engaging in sexual misconduct with minors, driving intoxicated on White House grounds, and igniting brawls in bars. Furthermore, several near misses occurred during Barack Obama's presidency. A bomb-sniffing dog detected the bag. Obama received 4 times as many threats as his predecessors, largely fueled by racism. Some analysts remarked that it was a miracle he remained unharmed. Within the service, morale is frequently abysmal, and turnover is staggering. Finding qualified replacements is no simple task. Not everyone is inclined to take a round for a starting salary of $48,000 a year. Moreover, the role demands perpetual travel, frequent relocation, and a massive amount of unpaid overtime. It is common for agents to resign in favor of better pay and working conditions in other federal agencies or by launching their own private security firms. Nevertheless, since JFK, the Secret Service has delivered on its mission. No president has been lost since 1963. However, there was one exceptionally tense encounter. Looking for something that truly makes you say, "Wait, what just happened?" In Butler, Pennsylvania, in 2024, Donald Trump narrowly escaped assassination while campaigning for a second term. Check out our video analyzing that specific event. People are still grappling with a single question: how did an assailant secure a position on an unprotected rooftop with a direct line of sight to Trump? It is widely regarded as a catastrophic failure of the Secret Service. "Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I've lost sleep over this for the last 17 days. I just needed someone to hold on to." 6 agents were placed on leave, and the director stepped down. Yet just 2 months later, another attempt on Trump's life rattled the agency once more. It is entirely possible that there have been numerous other near misses throughout American history that simply never surfaced. Perhaps that is the service's ultimate secret. All the times history nearly shifted, but didn't. The true weight of the Secret Service lies in the silence of its successes. For every tragedy that makes the headlines, there are a dozen disasters that never saw the light of day. Plots dismantled in the shadows, and history-altering moments that were stopped before they even began. That is the nature of the job, a lifetime of preparation for a handful of seconds that must never go wrong. Every day, the line between order and chaos is held by those willing to stand in the gap. If you found this deep dive into the world's most elite protection detail fascinating, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support is what allows our team to continue uncovering the stories that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.